When I first came to Spain and I had to use Spanish on a daily basis, it terrified me. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So I understand how using English when it's not your native language can be terrifying as well. But let me tell you my story. Um, what happened was I would go to meetings in the recruitment firm where I worked and I would go into listen mode. Now, I would go into listen mode and I would listen and I would try and process everything that was being said. I would try to understand the phrases that people were using. And one of the challenges is that when it's not your native language, sometimes you translate it directly. And then you lose all meaning because maybe it's like in English that we have, maybe it's an idiom that means something else. And you say, well, I don't understand what they mean by that. And I was listening. And then it came to a point where it would be asked, does anybody have any questions? And because I didn't really, I guess, have the confidence to speak up, I never said anything. And the problem is that the less you speak up, the less confident you become. And then what happens is that you just automatically go into listening mode. And it's not even a good listening mode. It's just sometimes hearing the words and trying to think about what's coming next. So we're just receiving the information, but we're not really processing it. And what happens when you don't speak up at these meetings? Well, what I found was that, everybody else was maybe getting praise, everybody else was clarifying the issues that they had. And I wouldn't speak up in a group situation. I would wait till afterwards and I would ask one of my colleagues. Now, if this is happening to you when you're speaking English or when you're in international meetings, I understand completely. But have you ever thought about how that is stopping you from progressing your career? Because let's say there are two people in your company, you and somebody else, and your colleague mightn't have, a perfect level of English, but they always ask questions. And you, while you have a good level of English, you're just afraid of making mistakes. So what do? You don't speak up. Your colleague speaks up. Now, imagine they are looking to promote one person in the company, and it's you and your colleague. And they say, well, Richard is good, but he doesn't really speak up in Spanish. I don't think he would be able to do these sales calls for us. I don't think he'll be able to communicate what the company wants. And then they look at John. And John, while he makes mistakes, he puts the effort in and he tries to communicate as best he can. And he does a good job because he uses certain techniques that help him sound a little bit more fluent. So John doesn't have this, I'm going to call it a self-confidence issue in that he's afraid of making mistakes. He understands that he's not a native speaker, so of course he's going to make mistakes. So what happens? John gets the promotion and you don't. What does that do? That makes you think, well, I'm just going to focus on my English sales or my Spanish sales in my native language, and I'm not going to push myself anymore. There's a lot of opportunities out there in business for people who can speak two languages or three languages or four languages. And English is one of these languages that you need to have confidence in. Now, when I recorded this video, I actually had a segment where I said you have to perfect your English. And then I decided, no, I'm going to cut that out because we cannot be perfect with English. I have clients who are really, really good with their English. They're doing business in English, but they still make some simple errors. There's some common things that they say incorrectly, but that doesn't stop them. So we will never be perfect in anything because there's always space to learn. But what you need to do is you need to build your confidence. You need to build up your fluidity. You need tips and strategies to help you overcome different situations. And the more you do of this, the better you will become. As I say, you'll never become perfect. I'm going to tell you that straight away. And a lot of people come to me and they say, I want to be fluent in 6 months. And I go, okay, fair enough. Next, please, because you won't be fluent in 6 months. Unless you go and you live and work 24/7 in English, it's going to be very, very difficult. But you can become better. But becoming better is not about reviewing all the grammar. It's not about learning more grammar. It's not about intensive classes in an academy with 20 people. That's not going to work. What it is about is taking the knowledge that you have and shaping that into a system or a process that's going to help you. And this is where, this is where I can help you, because I've worked with many clients and I know what works. And the very, very first step is building up that confidence. And building up confidence, you need to practice. I mean, I have had and I have some clients who say, well, I don't really use English that much during the week, or I just use it during our sessions because they're in-company classes. And I often say, I mean, that's good, but try and start to use it. Try and speak to your colleagues in English. Get over that embarrassment of your accent, of making mistakes, etc. We're never going to change our accent unless we've learned English from very, very young. I mean, from the time that you were a baby and you were hearing English, your accent is your accent. And that is something unique to you. So while you can maybe reduce your accent, but why do you want to reduce your accent? Why do you want to change who you are? While you could reduce your accent, if you don't know the techniques that you need to sound more fluent, it's not going to help you. Learning more about the present continuous and even taking an exam like the proficiency exam, it's not really going to help you. I'm sorry to say it. Why? Because this is theory. We need to have the practice. And imagine knowing the basics of the mechanics of how a car works, but never actually changing that wheel, never changing the oil. Well, you can be an expert in the theory, but if you can't do it in practice, this is where the major problem is. So listen, it's something that I can help you with using my 6+12 formula. And you might say, what is your 6+12 formula? Well, 6 weeks of training, including over that 6 weeks, 12 weeks of support as well. And this is my phase 1 to get you more confident, and something I call my Business English Confidence Accelerator. And in 6 weeks, I guarantee if you follow what I say, you will become more confident in English. And then during that 6 weeks, and for 6 weeks after you finish the course, a total of 3 months, you will have support with 2 webinars a month. One is an Ask Me Anything, which is where you can ask any questions that you may have about the course or anything that comes up. And the other one will be an actual practice session where you will practice with either me or with other people how to actually use the tips and tricks and strategies that I'm showing in the course. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, there is a link in the first description which will tell you all about the course. It'll give you an outline of the course, etc. And then you can sign up. It's just 147 euros for all of that, with the 2 webinars a month, which will take place in the evening. Don't have to attend them, but I would highly recommend that you do. If you have any questions, just let me know, direct message me. If you'd like this for your company, let me know and we can arrange something as well. All right, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you very soon.